Hi everyone, Trina here, and I wanted to read something to you guys that was coming into my consciousness. Sometimes when ideas come into my head, they come out in rhyme and they come out kind of in poetry, and it's just feels good to write it down, because when I write it down, then it's kind of like, okay, it's good now. But I wrote this down and I thought I would share it with you guys. Let me find it. Okay. What it was is I called it, we dove into the darkness. So I wrote this on 1/27/2020, and it says, "What are we? The seed, the spark. We are that which was birthed from the dark. The dark is the womb, and is also the tomb, the place where the spark and the seed became you. Everything is inverted, twisted, and perverted. We are now learning the secrets of all that's contorted. The secret's been kept. It's the power within our heads. Faith, trust, and pixie dust. The Trinity is what we lost. The mind of the child is fearless and free. Remember the roots, connect to the tree. The spark, the fire, the spirit in thee. This is the gift, the light in thee. The mind, the gut, and then the heart. When we learn this, they come apart. The game is over, and now we win. The Trinity awakens, the Christ within. This is the Savior, the one who's aware. Remember, dear one, the keys are all here. We never really die. We simply reappear. This was the gift, the tool of the fool, the spirit, the image, our imagination to rule. Come to me with the eyes of a child. The joy of your creations will just make you smile. We dove into the mind of God as we dream in subconscious mind. The journey collided into time, the fractals all scattered upon the timelines. Gather now all that is you, remembering all that is true, becoming what you came here to be and do. The ladder of us all to our remembering. We dove into the darkness because we had no fear, to remember and awaken the Christ that is here." So I wrote that yesterday, and Wayne had his profound gnosis about his OBE, and it's so funny because so much of what I wrote is so much of what he was speaking of, about what are we, and getting out and recovering the truth and understanding the power and the wisdom of who he is as his own being, and understanding what it means to be. And it's just so amazing how our minds are all coming into sync and coming together, and we're learning so much about what we are as beings. So we were getting ready to go into the Divine Sophia, and we were getting ready to go into alchemical mastery. So this ought to be good. So here we go. Anthropologist Raphael Patai writes, from the beginning, there were two images of the deity in the Temple of Jerusalem, Yahweh and his consort, the goddess. Later, once all images of the divine had been forbidden by the priests, Yahweh's image disappeared, leaving only the two human cherubim, made of olive wood and covered in gold leaf, whose vast wings covered the Ark of the Covenant itself. These cherubim stood 15 feet tall, and their wingspan stretched the entire 30 feet of the Holy of Holies, overseeing the sanctuary where the ark was kept. Throughout the Levant, other pairs of such winged figures have also been found. Some both male and female, others only female. One such set was discovered on a plaque from the place of King Ahab of Israel, showing two female beings facing each other, kneeling with outstretched wings, and a flower in their hands. These female cherubim reminded us of the two Egyptian goddesses, Isis and Nephthys, the two sisters who guarded the tomb of Osiris, the Lord of Resurrection. Like the male and female cherubim, Isis and Nephthys represents the solar and lunar aspects of the Divine Mother, the Hermetic symbol of the spiritual technologies of enlightenment. Wings surround the Djed pillar, a symbol of the power of Osiris, who, like Jesus after him, was perennially linked to the tree of life, the way of return, and the regenerating powers of soul itself. Similarly, in the temples in Assyria, we also find two such winged figures protecting the tree of life. These are both male and female. The importance of this sacred alchemy between the sexes seems to come from the Jews, from Moses, when he brought his wisdom out of Egypt. Moses had 12 pairs of protective winged cherubim sewn onto the fabric of his desert tabernacle, 10 pairs on the various curtains of the tabernacle, and 1 pair embroidered on the veil that hid the Holy of Holies, concealing the statues of the male and female cherubim in sacred embrace. Wow. And another pair hovering over the ark itself. And this is the pictures that they show of that. It totally looks to me like alien technology. Every time I see this, this is what I see in my mind. So it says figure 7.9, the top one. Like the winged figures from the Temple of Solomon, Isis and Nephthys flank the Djed, the pillar that symbolizes the tree of life, and the union of the solar and lunar energies in perfect union. Illustrated by Tricia McCannon. Figure 710, the Ark of the Covenant, is flanked by 2 golden winged figures representing the lunar and solar energies needed to attain enlightenment. These symbols are derivatives of a far earlier mystery found in Egypt, Sumeria, Babylon, and Assyria. Okay, so the angels were on the tabernacle and the Holy of Holies, and the male and female were hidden in a holy embrace, and another pair hovering over the ark itself. This means that the great Hebrew sages once understood the inner alchemy of the spiritual mastery that allows us to make direct communication and connection with Source. However, as the priestess of Yahweh became increasingly patriarchal and controlling, they claimed that there was only one aspect of God, Yahweh, and that no other gods would be tolerated. To explain their own sacred symbolism within the Holy of Holies, they told the people of Israel that they were the bride of Yahweh, dismissing the true meaning of the alchemical union. Later, we would see the same misinterpretations of the sacred marriage imposed by the Catholic Church on the teachings of Jesus, shifting the original teachings of the bride and the bridegroom to mean union with the church. At a personal level, this completely distorts the wisdom of the inner alchemy needed to achieve mastery. At a cultural level, it creates a great imbalance in our cultures, our religions, and our relationships, as we minimize, suppress, and dismiss or obsess over the feminine sex. It is clear to anyone who observes the world of nature that both genders are equally that are needed equally to birth something new. Anne Baring and Jules Cashford, authors of The Myth of the Goddess, Evolution of an Image, a study chronicling the disappearance of the divine feminine. In Masculine Theology writes, after the destruction of the first temple and the building of the second temple, the cherubim in the Holy of Holies were believed to reflect the male and female aspects of Yahweh or God. Later, still before the destruction of the second temple, figures of the male and female cherubim embracing which stood in the Holy of Holies reflected the union of Yahweh with the community of Israel that were now being depicted as his bride. All true initiates know that the knowledge of the alchemical marriage lay at the heart of the great spiritual mystery schools. And this was the goal to those who pursue the great work. This is the alchemical process of the philosopher's stone. A process of turning lead into gold, and a metaphor for awakening the divine supernal self within the amnesia of the little egoic self. Past sages realized that by uniting the male and the female within the self was the true path of mastery. So they created 3 successful levels of initiation to teach these principles. The first level was dedicated to the Divine Mother and Daughter, the second level to the Divine Father and Son, and the third was the union between the two. The first level of initiation included a study of the realms of nature, knowledge of the stars, the animals, plants, herbs, trees, and the development of one's own healing gifts. It was also comprised of a knowledge of cycles of birth, life, death, and rebirth. The Great Mother who oversees them all in the endless cycles of change found within the natural world. The second level of initiation was dedicated to the Father and the Son. It included the study of history, law, philosophy, astronomy, astrology, sacred geometry, mathematics, construction, music, and the power of the word. It also called for the development of the inner senses and the control of the elements. This phase embraced the knowledge of the Father. It periodically returns to earth as the divine Son, the agent of enlightenment for each world age. The soul is called the Aion, A-I-O-N, the great solar Lord who ushers in each world age. Historically, he dies on the cross of matter, since the secular powers of the world oppose his message of spiritual liberation. His many incarnations include world saviors such as Prometheus, Tammuz, Adonais, Osiris, Orpheus, Krishna, Mithra, Quetzalcoatl, and most recently, the beloved Lord Jesus. The final level of the mysteries taught the integration of the male and female aspects of ourselves, a union that ultimately brings us to mastery. This is called the Hierogamos. Hierogamos, that's it, or sacred marriage. While it appears that at the time of Solomon, this knowledge was still being honored, it was later suppressed by the priest of Yahweh. It remained lost until the time of Jesus, who taught the marriage of the bride and the bridegroom. However, with the demotion of the sacred feminine by the Roman Catholic Church, the spiritual technology was lost to us once again, obliterating the path to personal mastery. The shift to an all Yahweh society. Okay, so this is where they went into more of the Yahweh stuff and how it got patriarchal and our histories were rewritten, the divine feminine was removed. there were so many changes and indiscrepancies that we can find within these texts. So we'll go now further into the footprints of the mother. So humanity has imagined her as the immensity of the cosmos, space as the moon, as the earth, and nature. She is the age-old symbol of the invisible dimension of soul and the instinctive, intelligent that informs it. We live within her being, yet we know almost nothing about her. She is everything that is still unfathomed by us about the nature of the universe, matter, and the invisible energy that circulates through all the different aspects of her being. She spins and weaves the shimmering robe of life in which we live and through which we are all connected to all cosmic life. Andrew Harvey and Anne Baring, The Divine Feminine. As I entered more deeply into an understanding of these mysteries over the next few years, I was to learn about a completely different type of human history from which was taught in our schools today. Through the writings of brave pioneers, such as archaeologists and historians, international authors, and ceremonial teachers, I learned that for hundreds of years, our modern-day society has been a victim of a political and a religious cover-up designed to conceal a time when human beings lived in a more egalitarian and humane society. Before the warmongering ages of the patriarchal descended, there were earlier eras on this planet that honored the Divine Mother as the creatrix of all life. These societies had a completely different paradigm for human partnership from what we have today. Merlin Stone, author of the seminal books When God Was a Woman and Ancient Mirrors of Womanhood, writes, in prehistoric and earlier historic periods of human development, religions existed in which people revered their supreme creator as female. The great goddess, the divine ancestress, had been worshipped from the beginnings of the Neolithic periods of 7000 BC until the closing of the last goddess temples was about AD 500. Some authorities would extend the goddess worship as far into the past as the Upper Paleolithic age of about 25,000 BC. Archaeological, mythical, and historical evidence all reveal that female religion, far from naturally fading away, was the victim of centuries of continual persecution and suppression by the advocates of the new religion, which held male deities as supreme. And from these new religions came the creation myth of Adam and Eve and the tale of the loss of paradise. The hidden earth, then it says, the hidden era of Earth's cultures stretched back for literally thousands of years and encompassed great civilizations in the Middle East, the Mediterranean, Egypt, Africa, India, Britain, Polynesia, Europe, the North, the South, the Central American continents, all of which had once honored the Great Mother as the creatress of all. In time, I came to realize that most of the inequities we find in our world today are a direct result of this forgotten aspect of the Queen of Heaven, which set us on a course that through our core values and ourselves are out of balance. Our male-dominated approach has led us to the rape and pillage of our planet's resources, the creation of hierarchical financial institutions that oppress the poor and support the rich, and the clear sense that we are losing touch with our true place in the cosmos. For although many of us may have had an innate sense, even a long-buried memory of a time when men and women lived together in mutual respect and harmony, much of this history, religion, and values have been inherited. They have been inherited and written by the victors of a patriarchal war who have felt highly threatened by the true events of our ancestral past. I began to discover the hidden roots and records. I was stunned how far they went back. Author of The Great Cosmic Mother, Moore and Monica Shoujo, explain the magnitude of the lost centuries of human history. It is important for us as human beings to really grasp the time dimensions involved here. That God was considered a female for at least the first 200,000 years of human life on earth. And in fact, the only image of a creator ever painted on rock, carved in stone, or sculpted in clay for a period of about 30,000 years was that only of the Divine Mother. While this statement seems almost incomprehensible to those of us who were raised in conventional contemporary Christian societies and the societies of our times, examine the anthropological evidence and it becomes indisputable in its truth. In a world where we have been conditioned to expect violence, war, and competition as the norm, few of us can even conceive of a planet where human beings can live side by side in harmony with one another. So how did this imbalance come about? How did the patriarchy gain power? And how does half the human race claim the right to suppress or belittle the other half? What happened to our understanding of the universe, which led to one sex being forced into subservience while the other half claimed to be superior? Why are the only role models that we have for women in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, are the obedient virgin and the penitent prostitute, or the innocent Eve who has been blamed for humankind's expulsion from paradise? In collating these kinds of limited archetypes sends a message to women everywhere that if they stray from the conventions established by men, they will either be condemned, or cast out of society. So I began to examine the archaeological evidence of more ancient cultures where men and women lived together in harmony. Let's take a look at some of the data that supports this hypothesis and the implications for our contemporary lives. All right, we will pick up on the world of archaeological evidence and some of the different proof and history of the divine feminine that has been completely taken. Pretty much of it was lost for a long time, but it's starting to come back in archaeology and people who are finding all these new things that were buried and hidden for a very long time. These truths are coming right out of the earth, and Mama Gaia is giving birth to all of the truth and the hidden wisdom that she's been holding within her. And these truths are all starting to come out, and we will be seeing much more of them, I have a feeling, because between the information we're going to uncover within our own minds and the information that's going to come out of the earth, I think we're in for a lot of new history in the very near future. So we're going to be finding a lot about ourselves that we never knew before. And a lot of that history is about reconnecting to the divine feminine and the role of the female and the role of her as goddess and the role of her husband as God. So this is the true God, goddess of this world. It's us. And we aren't acting like that. So I think it's time to remember what we are and who we are and become the way showers of that aspect of what we truly are as masters incarnate through the blending of those powers within us. And the blending of that power activates the Christ. And this is what we came to be, came to do, was be balanced, activated, intelligent, compassionate human beings, loving your brother as you love yourself. No borders, no boundaries, none of it, just love. And that is possible when we are in balance. And it's been such a long time that humanity's had a taste of that. And I think that's why most of us are here now, because we came to bring that balance back and be the bridge from heaven to earth. And no more being cast out of Eden. We now will recreate Eden because we belong in the garden. And we belong in a planet that can be in harmony with balance of nature and spirit. And I know that we can do this. And I think that this is a very difficult task. But I think that we knew we could. So with that, I think that's what we're going to do. It's about finding balance within ourselves and understanding what you are. And when you start to see those truths about your own power, we can make an effect in our world. So it's about us all coming together with gnosis and the same understanding. And we got to cut loose the details because the details will only divide us. So stick with the essence. And this is why Jesus was thought of as an Essene. It's about essence. It's not about the details as much as it is about the metaphors. It's about the resonance of the information, not so much the details of it. So the division has been so ingrained with us, and now it's time to start to learn how to break those walls down and those lines of division, start to erase them, so that way we can come together as a collective and we can start to create the new vision. Instead of letting the television tell us what vision to create, we can literally start to create the vision that we wish to see. So I know it sounds impossible, but I also know that it can be done. So with that, we will pick up on architecture and evidence in the next one. I love you all, soul family. Thank you so much for being here and a part of my world. You literally are one of the biggest reasons I think I'm here, is to find you. So thank you for finding me, and I'm so grateful that I found you. And I have a feeling we're going to start finding each other in higher places, in other dimensions, and in new ways that we maybe didn't even conceive was possible. So I look forward to knowing you all, because you all are part of my soul tribe, and we are vibing in the same vibe, and that will bring us together in our minds. It's all about frequency and vibration. So I love you. Thank you for being part of my tribe and my vibe. I can't tell you what it means. And guys, we're going to do some amazing things together, and we're going to do it through love. So I love you all from the bottom of my being, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.